I'm Samantha, 28, and I never thought my financial responsibility would be tested by my own family. When Dad's heart condition required specialized treatment, Mom begged to use my credit card to save his life. I agreed without hesitation. 3 weeks later, I discovered my card wasn't paying for Dad's medication but funding my sister Brittany's luxurious Hawaii vacation. The betrayal shattered me, but what I did next changed everything. Before I continue, let me know where you're watching from in the comments and hit that subscribe button if you've ever had to make difficult choices with family. Growing up, my dad was my financial guru. While other kids got allowances just for existing, Dad made sure I understood the value of money. Every dollar I earned babysitting or mowing lawns came with a lesson about saving, investing, and planning for the future. Money doesn't grow on trees, Sammy, he'd say with a wink, but it can grow in banks. Those early lessons shaped me into who I am today, a financial analyst with a healthy savings account, excellent credit score, and a detailed 5-year plan. Our family dynamics were clear from early on. Mom, Karen, ran our household with an iron fist disguised in a velvet glove. She made most decisions, from what we ate for dinner to which colleges we applied to. Dad usually deferred to her judgment, preferring peace over conflict. And then there was my younger sister, Brittany. Brittany was Mom's obvious favorite. 3 years younger than me, she grew up with different rules. While I had to work for my spending money, Brittany received generous gifts from Mom. When I needed a car for college, I bought a used Honda with my savings. When Brittany turned 16, Mom surprised her with a brand new Jeep. "Your sister is more delicate than you," Mom would explain whenever I pointed out the disparity. "You've always been so independent, Sam. Brittany needs more support." I accepted this explanation, because what else could I do? I loved my family despite the favoritism. Besides, Dad and I had our own special bond. He'd sneak me extra help when Mom wasn't looking, not money but time, advice, and emotional support that proved far more valuable. Last January, everything changed. Dad collapsed while shoveling snow from our driveway. The diagnosis hit us like a truck: severe coronary artery disease requiring specialized treatment. His insurance covered the basic procedures, but not the innovative therapy his cardiologist recommended for his particular condition. Without this treatment, he has maybe a 60% chance of full recovery, the doctor explained during a family meeting. With it, we're looking at over 90%. Those odds made the decision simple for me, but the cost was substantial. Nearly $45,000 for the complete treatment protocol. Our family gathered that evening to discuss finances. Dad looked small in his favorite recliner, his usual robust energy diminished. Mom took charge as always, clipboard in hand. "John's insurance will cover the standard treatments," she announced, using Dad's first name as she always did during serious discussions. "But we need to come up with the difference for this specialized therapy." Dad's retirement fund was tied up in long-term investments with hefty withdrawal penalties. Mom's business, an upscale boutique, had been struggling since the pandemic. Brittany was between jobs, having recently quit her position at a local gallery because the manager didn't appreciate her creative vision. Then all eyes turned to me. I'd helped my family financially before. When Brittany needed bail money after a DUI, which Mom referred to as that misunderstanding with the police, I provided it. When Mom's boutique needed new inventory before a big sales weekend, I loaned her the cash. The money always came back eventually, though rarely on the timeline promised. Still, this was different. This was Dad's life. 2 days after the diagnosis, Mom cornered me in the hospital cafeteria while Dad was undergoing tests. "Samantha," she said, stirring her coffee with unusual intensity, "you know I wouldn't ask if it wasn't important." "What is it, Mom?" I already knew what was coming. "Your father's treatment. The insurance claim is getting complicated. There might be delays in reimbursement, and the specialist requires payment up front." I nodded slowly. "How much do you need?" "That's not..." She paused, recalibrating. "Actually, I was thinking you could let me use your credit card. The one with the high limit. Just until the insurance sorts itself out." My premium credit card had a $50,000 limit that I'd never come close to maxing out. I kept it mainly for emergencies and to build my credit score. The total might reach $45,000, Mom continued. But the insurance will eventually cover most of it. We just need your card temporarily. Warning bells rang in my head, but I silenced them. This was for Dad. I'd make it work, even if it meant postponing my planned vacation and working overtime to cover my other expenses. Looking at Mom's worried face, I pushed aside memories of previous financial disappointments. This time was different. This was life or death. Let me think about it, I said, though we both knew I'd agree. The following morning, I met Mom at her favorite cafe near the hospital. She was already there when I arrived, dressed immaculately as always, scrolling through her phone with manicured nails. I've been researching alternative treatments, she said as I sat down, not bothering with a greeting. Nothing looks as promising as what Dr. Reynolds suggested. I nodded, pulling out my wallet. I've thought about it and I'll help. But I need to be clear about terms. Mom's expression flickered with annoyance before settling back into gratitude. Of course, sweetie. Whatever makes you comfortable. I placed my credit card on the table between us. This is for Dad's treatment only. The specialized therapy that costs around $45,000. Nothing else. Absolutely, Mom agreed quickly. I need receipts for everything, I continued, and a repayment plan once the insurance reimbursement comes through. Mom reached across the table and squeezed my hand. You're such a good daughter, Sam. Your father's lucky to have you. She slipped the credit card into her purse. I'll handle everything. You focus on your work. I know how important your job is to you. Something in her tone made me uncomfortable, but I dismissed it. This was about Dad, not our complicated relationship. I'm trusting you with this, Mom. Her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. I know, sweetie. I won't let you down. To make room for this unexpected expense, I called my travel agent that afternoon and canceled my planned hiking trip to New Zealand. The cancellation fees ate half of my deposit, but I told myself it was worth it. I also picked up extra analysis projects at work, telling my boss I was saving for a house down payment rather than explaining my family situation. The next few weeks were a blur of hospital visits and overtime work. Dad started preliminary treatments while supposedly waiting for the specialized therapy to be scheduled. He seemed stable but not improving as much as the doctors had hoped. When does the special treatment begin? I asked him during one visit, bringing his favorite peppermint tea. Dad looked confused. Karen's handling all that with the doctors. I thought it had already started. That evening, I called Mom for an update. Oh, there's been a slight delay with the specialist, she explained vaguely. But everything's on track. Dr. Reynolds is monitoring the situation closely. When I asked about the charges on my card, she became defensive. Samantha, handling your father's medical care is stressful enough without you questioning me about every detail. Some charges are for medications, some for consultations. Do you want me to fax you an itemized list while I'm sitting by your father's bedside? I backed off, feeling guilty for adding to her burden. But something didn't feel right. Meanwhile, Brittany seemed unusually buoyant despite Dad's condition. She visited the hospital infrequently, always with an excuse about job interviews or networking events. Yet I noticed her posting photos of new clothes and expensive restaurant meals on Instagram. During one hospital visit, I overheard her on the phone in the hallway. The resort has its own private beach, she was saying excitedly. And Jessica's parents have a timeshare we can use for part of the trip to save money. I thought she was planning a future vacation for when Dad was better. It never occurred to me that she'd go while he was still sick, or how she'd pay for it. The following week, Mom became increasingly hard to reach. Her texts were brief and vague. When I visited Dad, she was rarely there, citing obligations at her boutique. Dad seemed more tired, the spark in his eyes dimming. Has Mom talked to you about the specialized treatment? I asked Dr. Reynolds when I bumped into him in the corridor. His brow furrowed. We discussed it as an option, but Mrs. Walker decided to continue with the standard protocol for now. Said something about reconsidering the advanced treatment later. My stomach dropped. Why would Mom delay the very treatment she'd been so desperate to secure? I called her immediately, but the call went to voicemail.
I sender tekst.
Need to talk about Dad's treatment. Call me ASAP. Hours passed with no response. Something was very wrong. The revelation came on a Tuesday evening. After a grueling day analyzing market trends, I decided to check my credit card statement online, something I'd been avoiding out of trust for my mother. The page loaded, and I blinked at the balance, $38,752.36. At first, I thought there must be some mistake. I scrolled through the transactions, expecting to see charges from hospitals, pharmacies, and medical specialists. Instead, what jumped out were names like Aloha Beach Resort, Paradise Helicopter Tours, and Waikiki Ocean Grill. My hands began to shake. I clicked on one of the charges, a $1,200 transaction at Royal Hawaiian Shopping Center. The details showed purchases at luxury stores, including a designer swimwear boutique and a high-end sunglasses shop. This can't be right, I whispered to my empty apartment. I pulled up Instagram on my phone and went to Brittany's profile, which I hadn't checked in days due to work and hospital visits. Her latest post, dated just hours ago, showed her lounging on a white sand beach, designer sunglasses perched on her nose, tropical drink in hand. The caption read, "Sometimes you just need to prioritize self-care. #blessed, #Hawaii, #vacation mode." The room seemed to tilt. There were dozens of photos from Hawaii, Brittany at luau's on boat tours, shopping in upscale boutiques, all posted over the past week. In one image, she was wearing a distinctive blue pendant that I recognized from one of the credit card charges, $8.90 at Island Treasures Jewelry. In disbelief, I scrolled through her friend Jessica's profile and found even more evidence. Videos of Brittany parasailing, dining at exclusive restaurants, and lounging in what appeared to be a luxury hotel suite. In one video, Brittany was literally throwing cash in the air while laughing, saying, "Mom says I deserve this break." My fingers trembled as I dialed Mom's number. This time, she answered on the second ring. "Sam? Is everything okay with your father?" Her casual tone ignited something in me. "No, Mom, everything is not okay. Why are there charges from Hawaii on my credit card? The card you promised to use only for Dad's treatment." A long pause followed. When she spoke, her voice was carefully controlled. "Samantha, I can explain. It's not what you think." "Really? Because what I think is that you took my credit card under false pretenses and used it to send Brittany on a luxury vacation while Dad's health deteriorates." "You're being dramatic," Mom countered, her voice hardening. "Your father is getting the care he needs. The doctors agreed that we could postpone the specialized treatment." "That's not what Dr. Reynolds told me today," I interrupted. "He said you decided against the treatment altogether." Another pause. "Well, he misunderstood. Besides, Brittany has been under tremendous stress with job hunting. Her therapist suggested a break would benefit her mental health. It's actually medical in a way." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Mom, you stole from me. You lied about Dad's treatment and used my money to send Brittany to Hawaii." "I didn't steal anything," she snapped. "I'm your mother. Family helps family. We'll pay you back once the boutique's summer collection starts selling." I hung up, too angry to continue the conversation. Immediately, I called the hospital and asked to speak with Dad's doctor. Dr. Reynolds confirmed my fears. "Your father's condition is stable, but deteriorating slowly. The standard treatments are helping somewhat, but without the specialized therapy, his long-term prognosis is concerning. The window for optimal intervention is narrowing." After thanking him, I called my father directly. "Dad, did you know Mom never scheduled your specialized treatment? The one we talked about that would increase your chances to over 90%. His confused silence told me everything. "Sweetheart, what are you talking about?" "Karen said the insurance denied the specialized treatment and we were proceeding with standard care. She said you understood." My throat tightened with rage and grief. "Dad, Mom used my credit card to send Brittany to Hawaii instead of paying for your treatment. She's there right now, staying at a luxury resort." The silence that followed was devastating. When he finally spoke, his voice was small and hurt. "Are you sure, Sammy?" I'm looking at the credit card charges and Brittany's Instagram photos right now, I said gently. I'm so sorry, Dad. His breathing became labored, and I worried I'd made his condition worse by revealing the truth. But he deserved to know. I need to think, he said finally. And you need to take care of yourself. Don't confront your mother yet. Let me talk to her first. But I knew confrontation was inevitable. My mother and sister had betrayed both of us in the worst possible way, and I couldn't let it stand. The drive to my parents' house the next morning felt surreal. Rain pounded against my windshield, matching my turbulent emotions. I'd barely slept, my mind cycling through memories of all the times I'd given Mom and Brittany the benefit of the doubt, all the times I dismissed their selfish behavior as family quirks rather than character flaws. I'd called in sick to work for the first time in 3 years. This couldn't wait. When I pulled into the driveway, I was surprised to see Brittany's car. She was supposed to be in Hawaii for another 3 days according to her social media. Had Mom warned her? Called her home to present a united front? I sat in my car for several minutes, rehearsing what I would say, trying to calm my racing heart. Finally, I grabbed my folder of printed credit card statements and Instagram screenshots and walked to the front door. I didn't knock, I still had a key. The scene that greeted me in the living room stopped me cold. Brittany was lounging on the sofa in a new floral dress, surrounded by shopping bags with Hawaiian logos. 3 of her friends sat around her, admiring a spread of souvenirs on the coffee table. And this perfume is made with real Hawaiian flowers, Brittany was saying, passing a decorative bottle to one friend. It costs a fortune to ship to the mainland, but totally worth it. Mom stood nearby, smiling proudly as if her daughter had accomplished something remarkable instead of taking a stolen vacation. They all looked up when I entered, expressions shifting from surprise to wariness. Mom recovered first, her voice falsely bright. What a surprise. I thought you had work today. I took the day off, I said flatly, my eyes fixed on the Hawaiian souvenirs. Looks like you had quite the trip, Brittany. Brittany's friends exchanged uncomfortable glances as they sensed the tension. It was amazing, Brittany gushed, either oblivious to my anger or choosing to ignore it. The resort Mom booked was absolute paradise. You should have seen the infinity pool overlooking the ocean. I bet it was beautiful, I said, my voice dangerously calm. Was it worth $38,000 of my money? Money that was supposed to save Dad's life. The room went silent. Brittany's friends began gathering their purses, murmuring awkward excuses. Maybe we should go, one said, but I blocked the doorway. No, please stay, I insisted. I'd love for you to hear how my mother and sister stole my credit card, lied about using it for my father's life-saving medical treatment, and instead funded this Hawaiian vacation while my father's health deteriorates. Samantha. Mom hissed. That's enough. Girls, I'm so sorry about this. My daughter is clearly upset and not thinking clearly. The friends managed to squeeze past me, practically running to their cars. When the front door closed behind them, Mom rounded on me. How dare you make a scene like that? You've embarrassed your sister in front of her friends. How dare I? My voice rose. How dare you steal from me? How dare you lie about Dad's treatment? How dare you prioritize Brittany's vacation over Dad's health? Brittany stood up, her face flushed. Don't be so dramatic, Sam. Dad's fine. He's in the hospital getting treatment. Not the treatment he needs, I countered, opening my folder and slapping the credit card statements on the coffee table. This money was specifically for a specialized therapy that would give Dad a 90% chance of full recovery. Instead, you're buying Hawaiian jewelry and taking helicopter tours. Mom stepped between us. Your father doesn't need that experimental treatment. The doctors said the standard care is adequate. That's not what Dr. Reynolds told me yesterday. I fired back. He said Dad's condition is deteriorating and the window for optimal intervention is closing. You lied to Dad, telling him insurance denied the treatment when really you just wanted to spoil your favorite daughter instead. Brittany rolled her eyes. It wasn't even a full luxury vacation. We used Jessica's parents' timeshare for part of it to save money. Her complete lack of remorse stunned me into momentary silence. Then I heard the sound of a car door outside. Through the window, I saw Dad being helped up the driveway by his home health aide. He wasn't supposed to be discharged until tomorrow. When he entered, the atmosphere shifted. Dad looked pale and tired, but his eyes were clear and angry in a way I'd rarely seen. "Karen," he said quietly to Mom, "I've spoken with Dr. Reynolds this morning. He told me everything." Mom's face drained of color. "John, you should be in the hospital. Why are they releasing you early?" "I checked myself out," Dad replied. "Needed to see for myself what was happening in my own home." His gaze shifted to the Hawaiian souvenirs still spread across the coffee table, then to Brittany's shopping bags. "I see Sam was telling the truth." "Daddy, it's not how it looks," Brittany began, her voice taking on the childish quality she always used when trying to manipulate him. "Stop it, Brittany," Dad snapped with unexpected force. "For once in your life, take responsibility for your actions." Mom tried a different approach. "John, you know how hard Brittany's been working to find a suitable position. Her therapist said the stress was affecting her health. This trip was therapeutic." Dad eased himself into his recliner with a grimace of pain. "And my heart condition? Was that not serious enough to warrant the treatment we discussed?" "The treatment Sam sacrificed to provide." "We can still get that treatment," Mom insisted. "The doctors said there's still time. And Brittany will get a job soon and help repay Sam." I laughed bitterly. "With what? Her extensive work history? Her commitment to financial responsibility?" "You've always been jealous of me," Brittany accused, pointing a manicured finger. "Just because Mom understands my needs better than yours." "You're so selfish, Sam. You make good money and barely spend it." "What's the big deal about helping family?" "The big deal is that you stole from me under false pretenses," I shot back. "You let me believe I was helping save Dad's life while you were parasailing in Hawaii." Dad raised a hand, wincing at the effort. "Enough. Karen, Brittany, what you've done is unforgivable. You've stolen from Sam. You've lied to me. You've potentially compromised my health." Mom's face hardened. "I've spent 30 years putting this family first, managing everything while you worked, and Sam focused on her precious career. Brittany and I deserve some consideration too." "Consideration isn't theft," Dad replied quietly. "Sam, what do you want to do about this?" All eyes turned to me. In that moment, I realized I held the power in my family for the first time. But power wasn't what I wanted. I wanted justice, accountability, and most importantly, proper care for my father. "First, I'm taking back my credit card," I said firmly. "Second, I'm arranging for Dad's specialized treatment myself, directly with the hospital. And third," I took a deep breath, "I'm considering reporting this as credit card fraud." Mom gasped. "You wouldn't dare. We're family." "Family doesn't do what you did," I responded, my voice breaking slightly. "Family doesn't lie and steal and put vacations above someone's health." I helped Dad to his feet. "Dad, I think you should stay with me for a while. At least until we sort this out." He nodded, looking suddenly older and more vulnerable. "You're choosing her over us?" Mom demanded, incredulous. Dad looked at her with profound sadness. "No, Karen. You and Brittany chose a vacation over my health. Sam is just trying to pick up the pieces." As we walked out, Brittany called after us, "You're going to regret this, Sam. Families should stick together no matter what." I turned back one last time. That's exactly what I'm doing, sticking with the family who deserves loyalty. The spare bedroom in my apartment wasn't fancy, but Dad seemed relieved to be there. After helping him settle in, I made us both tea and sat at my small kitchen table, emotionally drained but determined to find a path forward. "I'm sorry you're caught in the middle of this, Dad," I said, watching him stir honey into his cup. He shook his head slowly. "I'm the one who should be sorry, Sammy. I've enabled their behavior for years. Always making excuses. Always keeping the peace at any cost. Look where that's gotten us." That night, after Dad went to bed, I called my friend Rachel, a paralegal at a local law firm. Over video chat, I showed her the credit card statements and explained the situation. "This is serious, Sam," she said, her professional demeanor temporarily replaced by outrage. "What your mom did could be considered credit card fraud. The fact that she obtained your card under false pretenses with no intention of using it for the stated purpose makes it worse." "But she's my mother," I said, the words catching in my throat. "And reporting her could tear apart what's left of our family." Rachel's expression softened. "Family or not, what she did was illegal and morally wrong. You have options that don't immediately involve the police, but you should protect yourself legally." The next morning, I took a personal day and scheduled appointments with both a financial advisor and the hospital's patient advocate. Dad insisted on coming with me despite his fatigue. Mark Jenkins, the financial advisor, reviewed my statements with a grave expression. "You have several options," he explained. "First, you can dispute the charges with your credit card company as fraudulent. They'll investigate, which could lead to legal consequences for your mother. Second, you could pursue a civil case to recover the money. Or third, you could try to work out a repayment plan with your mother, though based on what you've told me, that seems unlikely to succeed. What would you recommend?" I asked. Mark leaned forward. "Honestly, dispute the charges. Your mother obtained your card through deception and used it for unauthorized purposes. The credit card company should side with you, especially with the evidence you've gathered." At the hospital, we met with Dr. Reynolds and a patient advocate named Susan. Dr. Reynolds confirmed that the specialized treatment could still help Dad, though the delay had reduced its potential effectiveness. "We can start next week," he said, "but we'll need payment arrangements finalized before then." Susan helped us navigate the financial aspects, exploring options like payment plans and medical loans. I was determined to find a way to pay for the treatment without using credit, even if it meant dipping into my emergency savings. As we left the hospital, Dad squeezed my hand. "You shouldn't have to bear this burden alone, Sammy. You'd do the same for me," I replied simply. That evening, I made a difficult decision. I would dispute the credit card charges and let the investigation take its course. If Mom and Brittany faced consequences, they'd brought it on themselves. Rachel helped me gather the necessary documentation: credit card statements, text messages from Mom about Dad's treatment, Brittany's social media posts with timestamps proving she was in Hawaii when the charges occurred, and a statement from Dr. Reynolds confirming that the specialized treatment had never been scheduled or paid for. I also started a detailed journal documenting everything that had happened, including conversations and encounters. Rachel explained this could be important if the situation escalated legally. "Make multiple copies of everything," she advised. "Electronic and physical. Store them in different locations." Meanwhile, Dad's condition wasn't improving. He tired easily and sometimes struggled to catch his breath. Each labored inhale was a reminder of what was at stake and strengthened my resolve. One evening, as we ate dinner, Dad looked up from his barely touched plate. "I've been thinking about my will and healthcare directives," he said quietly. "I'd like to make some changes." The implication was clear. He was removing Mom as his primary decision-maker. Another bridge burned in our fracturing family. Through all this, Mom called and texted constantly, alternating between anger, guilt-tripping, and occasional remorse. Brittany remained defiant, posting cryptic social media messages about toxic family members and choosing joy over negativity. I blocked both their numbers for my own mental health. Dad still took Mom's calls occasionally, but those conversations always left him exhausted and stressed. A week after the confrontation, I received a letter from Mom's attorney claiming I had gifted the credit card to Mom with no restrictions on its use. The letter demanded I cease making defamatory statements about Mom and Brittany to extended family and friends. Rachel helped me craft a response, including evidence of the specific agreement regarding the card's use for medical expenses only. We also included screenshots of Brittany's social media posts flaunting her Hawaiian vacation. "They're bluffing," Rachel assured me. "No court would side with them given the evidence." Still, the legal threat took an emotional toll. I began having trouble sleeping and found myself constantly checking my credit report for any new, unauthorized activity. The one bright spot came when I received a call from the hospital's financial department. An anonymous donor had contributed to their patient assistance fund, and Dad qualified for partial coverage of his specialized treatment. It wouldn't cover everything, but it reduced the amount I needed to pay up front. Do you know who the donor is? I asked the financial counselor. They requested anonymity, she replied. But they specifically mentioned heart patients requiring specialized care. Later, I discovered the donor was Dad's longtime fishing buddy, Frank, who had heard about our situation through the community grapevine. His quiet generosity restored some of my faith in humanity during this dark time. With the financial pieces starting to fall into place, I filed the formal dispute with my credit card company. The customer service representative sounded sympathetic as I explained the situation. Unfortunately, we see family fraud cases more often than you'd think, she said. We'll begin an investigation immediately and temporarily remove the disputed charges from your balance while we review. The representative warned me that the investigation would involve contacting Mom directly and could potentially lead to criminal charges if the credit card company decided to pursue them. I hesitated briefly, my finger hovering over the authorization button on the electronic form. Was I really ready to do this? To potentially see my own mother face legal consequences? Then I remembered Dad's labored breathing, the Hawaii photos, the smug look on Brittany's face as she showed off her souvenirs. I clicked submit. It's done, I told Dad afterward, a mixture of relief and anxiety washing over me. He nodded solemnly. You did the right thing, Sammy. Sometimes loving someone means holding them accountable. 3 days after filing the dispute, I received confirmation that the credit card company had opened an investigation. They temporarily credited the disputed amount back to my account and sent formal inquiry notices to Mom. Her reaction was swift and furious. She left a voicemail screaming that I had betrayed the family and threatened to tell everyone about my vindictive witch hunt. Let her try, Rachel advised when I played the message for her. Anyone who hears the full story will understand why you took action. Meanwhile, I focused on Dad's care. The specialized treatment was scheduled to begin the following week, and I took time off work to drive him to appointments and make sure he was comfortable. My boss, Janet, was surprisingly understanding when I explained the situation. Family comes first, Sam, she said. Take the time you need, and we can arrange for you to work remotely when possible. 2 weeks into the credit card investigation, I received an unexpected text from Brittany's boyfriend, Tyler. We'd always been cordial, but never close. Can we meet for coffee? Need to talk about Brittany and what happened. Curious, I agreed to meet him at a cafe near my office during lunch. Tyler looked uncomfortable as he slid into the booth across from me. I broke up with Brittany, he said without preamble. I couldn't believe what she and your mom did. How did you find out? I asked, surprised. Your mom called me to complain about you reporting the credit card fraud. She tried to make it sound like you were overreacting to a simple misunderstanding. He shook his head. But the way she described it, taking your card for your dad's treatment and using it for a vacation instead, it was clear what really happened. I'm sorry about your breakup, I said, meaning it. Tyler had always seemed like a decent guy. He shrugged. Don't be. It was enlightening, actually. When I confronted Brittany, she didn't even deny it. Just said you were being dramatic and that she deserved a break. That's not the kind of person I want to build a life with. Tyler wasn't the only one distancing himself from Mom and Brittany. As word spread through our extended family and social circle, the reactions were mixed but largely supportive of Dad and me. Mom's sister, Aunt Paula, called me in tears. I always knew Karen played favorites, but this goes beyond anything I could have imagined. How is your father doing? Other relatives and friends reached out with offers of help, home-cooked meals, rides to medical appointments for Dad, even financial assistance that I gratefully declined. Not everyone took our side, of course. Mom's close friends rallied around her, and a few relatives suggested I should forgive and forget for the sake of family harmony. Family harmony was destroyed when they stole from me and endangered Dad's health, I told one particularly insistent cousin. I'm not interested in sweeping that under the rug. The credit card company's investigation progressed. They interviewed me in detail, reviewed all my documentation, and contacted the Hawaiian businesses where charges had been made. Many had security footage or signed receipts showing Brittany making purchases with my card. For weeks after filing the dispute, I received their decision. All charges were being permanently reversed, and they were forwarding the case to their fraud department for potential legal action. The same day, I received a panicked call from Mom. "Samantha, you have to tell the credit card company it was a misunderstanding," she pleaded, her voice shaking. "They're talking about pressing charges. I could face actual criminal penalties." "That was always a possibility," I replied evenly. "I warned you this could happen." "But I'm your mother," she cried. "You can't let them do this to me." "I didn't do this to you, Mom. You did it to yourself when you decided to steal from me and lie about Dad's treatment." "I was going to pay you back," she insisted. "I just needed time." "The boutique has a big sale coming up." "Stop," I interrupted. "I've heard enough excuses. The investigation found what it found. The consequences are out of my hands now." After hanging up, I sat on my balcony for a long time, watching the sunset and wondering if I'd done the right thing. Part of me still loved Mom and Brittany despite everything. But another part recognized that their behavior wouldn't change without serious consequences. The next day, Dad had his first specialized treatment session. The procedure left him tired but hopeful. Dr. Reynolds was cautiously optimistic about his prognosis. "We're making up for lost time," he told us, "but your father is responding well. His determination is making a difference." As we were leaving the hospital, we ran into Brittany in the parking lot. She looked different, subdued, her usually perfect makeup minimal, her designer clothes replaced by jeans and a simple sweater. "Can I talk to you?" she asked, her eyes darting between Dad and me. Dad nodded. "We can go to the hospital cafe." Over coffee, Brittany did something I'd never seen before. She apologized. Not with the dramatic tears and self-justification I'd expected, but simply and directly. "What I did was wrong," she said, looking at her hands. "I knew the money was for Dad's treatment, but I convinced myself it wasn't urgent and that I deserved the trip. Tyler breaking up with me, my friends finding out, it made me realize how selfish I've been." Dad reached across the table and took her hand. "That's a start, Brittany. But real amends take more than words." She nodded. "I know. I've applied for 3 jobs this week. Real ones, not just the glamorous positions I wanted before. And I've listed all my designer stuff on consignment sites to start paying Sam back." I was skeptical, but tried to keep an open mind. "What about Mom? Is she ready to take responsibility too?" Brittany's expression fell. "She's struggling. The fraud investigation has her scared. And she doesn't understand why everyone's turning against her when she was just trying to keep everyone happy. By stealing and lying." I couldn't help the bitterness in my voice. "I'm not defending her," Brittany said quickly. "I'm just telling you where she's at. But I don't want to be like her anymore, Sam. I don't want to be the person who'd do what we did to you and Dad." It wasn't a perfect apology or a magical reconciliation, but it was a beginning. The credit card company ultimately decided not to press criminal charges against Mom, instead banning her from their services permanently and reporting the incident to credit bureaus. The financial consequences for her were significant, but not devastating. As for Brittany, she followed through on her promise to find work, landing a job as an administrative assistant at a local marketing firm, not glamorous, but steady and legitimate. She began making small repayments to me each month. Dad continued his treatment, showing gradual improvement. The specialized therapy was working, though the delay had indeed reduced its effectiveness. Dr. Reynolds believed he would recover about 80% of his heart function, not the 90+% we might have achieved with earlier intervention, but far better than the 60% originally predicted without treatment. The family remained fractured. Mom still believed she'd been treated unfairly and struggled to acknowledge the gravity of her actions. Dad and I maintained our boundary with her, allowing only limited, supervised contact. One evening, as Dad and I sat on my balcony watching fireflies blink in the gathering dusk, he turned to me with a serious expression. You know, Sammy, I keep thinking about something my father told me years ago. He said, "The measure of your character isn't how you treat people who can benefit you. It's how you treat those who can't do anything for you in return." He squeezed my hand. "You've shown extraordinary character through all this. I want you to know how proud I am." His words healed something in me that I hadn't realized was broken, a need for validation that what I'd done was right, not just legally, but morally. I had stood up for both of us when it would have been easier to give in, to forgive without accountability, to maintain a false peace. "I learned it from you, Dad," I replied, my throat tight with emotion. Long before any of this happened, 6 months after the confrontation, life had found a new rhythm. Dad had moved back to his house, without Mom, who was staying with her sister while they figured out their marital future. His health had stabilized, and though he tired more easily than before, he was able to resume many of his normal activities. Brittany had surprised everyone by sticking with her administrative job and even earning a small promotion. She continued making monthly payments toward what she owed me, sometimes including handwritten notes of apology and gratitude. Our relationship remained cautious, but was slowly healing. Mom was a different story. The fraud investigation had damaged her credit and reputation, leaving her bitter and defensive. She alternated between tearful pleas for reconciliation and angry accusations that I destroyed the family. I maintained firm boundaries, agreeing to see her only in family therapy sessions with a counselor named Diana. "Your mother exhibits classic narcissistic tendencies," Diana explained to me during a private session. "She struggles to see how her actions impact others and feels genuinely victimized when held accountable." "Will she ever change?" I asked. Diana's expression was measured. "Change is possible, but it requires acknowledging the problem first. Your mother isn't there yet. She may never be." That was a hard truth to accept, but I was learning to live with it. I couldn't control Mom's choices or behavior, only my response to them. Some family members still pressured me to forgive and forget for the sake of harmony. Aunt Ruth cornered me at a cousin's baby shower, insisting that life is too short to hold grudges. "This isn't about grudges," I explained patiently. "It's about boundaries and consequences. Mom hasn't acknowledged what she did or taken meaningful steps to make amends." "But she's your mother," Aunt Ruth persisted. "Family should forgive anything." "That thinking is what allowed the situation to get so bad in the first place," I replied. "Love doesn't mean accepting abuse or betrayal without accountability." My relationship with Dad had grown stronger through our shared ordeal. We spent Sundays fishing at the lake, continuing a tradition from my childhood but with our roles subtly reversed. Now I was the one checking that he'd taken his medication and didn't overexert himself. During one such outing, as our lines cast gentle ripples across the water, Dad broached the subject of his marriage. "Your mother and I are discussing divorce," he said quietly. 35 years is a long time to throw away, but what happened revealed fundamental problems we can't seem to resolve. I nodded, unsurprised but still sad. "Whatever you decide, I support you, Dad." He smiled wryly. "I know you do, Sammy. That's never been in question." My own healing journey was ongoing. With Rachel's encouragement, I started seeing a therapist to process the betrayal and its aftermath. Dr. Patel helped me understand that my feelings, the anger, hurt, and lingering guilt, were normal responses to abnormal circumstances. "Family betrayal cuts deeper than any other kind," she explained. "The people who should protect us caused harm instead. That violation of trust affects how we view all relationships." She was right. I found myself more cautious with friends and colleagues, more hesitant to offer help or trust others' motives. But I was working on it, consciously choosing to remain open-hearted while establishing healthier boundaries. One unexpected bright spot emerged from the darkness. Through all the hospital visits and treatment sessions, I developed a friendship with one of Dad's nurses, Michael. Our coffee breaks in the hospital cafeteria gradually evolved into dinners and movie nights. Unlike previous relationships, this one developed slowly, built on a foundation of mutual respect and authenticity. "I admire how you handled the situation with your family," Michael told me during an evening walk through the park. Standing up for what's right isn't easy, especially when it involves people you love. His understanding meant more than he knew. After months of being called selfish, dramatic, and unforgiving by various family members, having someone see and appreciate the difficult path I'd chosen was validating. The credit card company eventually concluded their full investigation, permanently removing all the fraudulent charges and adding extra security measures to my account. The financial aspect of the ordeal was resolved, but the emotional impact lingered. Healing isn't linear, Dr. Patel reminded me during one session. Some days will be harder than others. The important thing is that you're moving forward with awareness and intention. On Dad's birthday in November, we held a small celebration at his house. Brittany came, bringing a homemade cake rather than an expensive store-bought one, a small but meaningful change. Even Mom attended briefly, maintaining an awkward civility that was progress compared to her previous emotional outbursts. As the gathering wound down, Dad stood to make a toast. "I want to thank you all for being here today," he said, his voice stronger than it had been in months. "This year has been challenging in ways I never imagined, but it's also brought clarity and truth, painful as that sometimes is." He looked around the room, his eyes resting briefly on each face. "I've learned that family isn't just about blood or shared history. It's about respect, honesty, and supporting each other even when it's difficult. I'm grateful for those of you who exemplified those qualities when I needed you most." His gaze met mine, and I felt a surge of emotion. Grief for what our family had lost, but also pride in what we'd preserved. Our integrity, our bond, and our capacity for genuine love. Later that evening, as I prepared to leave, Dad pulled me aside. "I've been thinking about what this whole experience has taught me," he said. "And it comes down to this. Sometimes the hardest decisions are the right ones. Standing up for yourself doesn't make you selfish. It makes you self-respecting." I hugged him tightly, careful of his still healing heart. "I just wish it hadn't come at such a high cost." "The cost was already there," Dad replied wisely. "You just forced us all to acknowledge it instead of ignoring it. That's courage, Sammy." In the months that followed, I continued rebuilding my life with more intentional choices. I set clear boundaries with Mom and Brittany while leaving room for genuine change and reconciliation. I pursued my career with renewed focus, but made time for activities and people that brought me joy. I learned to trust my instincts about when to help others and when to protect myself. Most importantly, I stopped apologizing for prioritizing truth over comfortable illusions. The family myth of perfect harmony had been shattered, but in its place was something more valuable: authentic relationships based on mutual respect rather than manipulation and obligation. 1 year after the Hawaii incident, I stood on my balcony watching the sunset, reflecting on everything that had changed. Dad was doing well on his maintenance treatment plan. Brittany had stuck with her job and repaid almost a third of what she owed. Mom and Dad were proceeding with an amicable divorce, and Mom was finally beginning to show small signs of self-awareness in our therapy sessions. My phone buzzed with a text from Michael. "Dinner still on for tonight? Made reservations at that Italian place you like." I smiled as I replied affirmatively, grateful for his steady presence in my life. Family betrayal had taught me painful but necessary lessons about love, boundaries, and self-respect. I'd learned that sometimes the hardest choice is the right one, that forgiveness doesn't require forgetting, and that true family is defined by actions, not just blood. As the sky turned from orange to deep purple, I made a silent promise to myself. I would carry these lessons forward, honoring both the pain and wisdom they'd brought into my life. Have you ever had to make a difficult choice between family loyalty and self-respect? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Sometimes sharing our stories helps others know they're not alone in these challenging situations. If this resonated with you, please like and subscribe for more real-life experiences, and share with someone who might need to hear that standing up for yourself is an act of courage, not selfishness. Thank you for listening to my journey. Wishing you strength and clarity in your own relationships.